The second one or the first one?
The one with the numbers on it.
One with the numbers
One with
on
the numbers, the real numbers.
Okay.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Maybe we can get through this piece.
I think whether you wish to make recommendations on any, Article number 2 would be the first one, which is $40,000 for police salaries and $40,000 for fire salaries, and then based upon the advice of the Finance Committee, I would certainly add to this list the two items that we took off that were listed as small capital, which would be money for the police and library totaling $12,500, and those would be added as supplemental funding under Article number 2.
Move to recommend.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Prisco. Discussion?
Just a
Mr.
question.
Delaney?
Have we been reimbursed by FEMA, or do we expect to get reimbursed by?
Partially reimbursed.
How much?
We've been reimbursed for damage to public property, and we've been reimbursed for equipment usage. The total is about $20,000 to $25,000. The biggest piece is the cost of our personnel, and we have not been reimbursed for the cost of our personnel yet.
Is
So
there,
why
is there,
The dollar amount is higher, so it goes through a more extensive approval process. We're hopeful that we have it in hand for town meeting.
I would, okay.
All the paperwork is submitted, it's in FEMA's hands.
Okay. Seeing that it's not in hand yet, I would propose that we make a recommendation at town meeting.
I'll withdraw my motion. If you withdraw your second.
I know we made a commitment, and I'm willing to abide by that commitment, but if we don't have it in hand
I'm
yet,
still in favor of it, but, and again, if it doesn't come to fruition, we don't have it, then we can pass it over anyway, but.
Well, that's not the way I understood it. But again, I wasn't around when you guys initially drafted the way you wanted to go after this. But my understanding was, you hate to use the term, a shell game, meaning you had every intent to replace this money, no matter whether you had to pull it from somewhere else, whether or not we got the money from FEMA or not, you were going to replace this money. That's my understanding. So,
Correct.
I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just telling you the way I understood it. And if I'm wrong, then you can go ahead and correct me.
I believe you're correct.
So then why would we wait for a vote
well,
at town
Steve
meeting?
just made a motion.
Yeah, I made a motion, but.
I
But he just
believe,
withdrew it,
No,
so.
no,
believe
no,
you're
I didn't,
correct,
that's
too.
fine. You don't have to. I'm still in favor of it. Again, we made a commitment to,
my understanding, though, it was coming from the FEMA money. It was
Right.
based upon what we had projected our cost to be, personnel cost, and these budgets were gonna be supplemented with the reimbursement from FEMA. That was my
that
understanding.
was the first line of defense as far as reimbursement, but there was a commitment made to
Right.
fully fund these departments, because we had already cut them before. We cut, this is an additional $40,000 we cut after all of our budget deliberations, and it was to finance other things.
Was that at a later meeting? I agree with Sean, we were confident that we would have the money from FEMA, and that's how we were going to pay it. Now,
well, Steve has, I think Mike is right, and is, you know, I recall that, you know, we had hoped to get the full FEMA money. You know, the issue back then was, will we get 100% of it?
We knew we weren't.
No, I mean,
Would we cover
enough
the
to
80,000?
cover the-
yes.
Right.
And as it turns out, we made a case for more than this amount.
About $120,000.
So,
Yeah.
Is there a chance we won't get this FEMA money?
There's always,
To cover it?
until we have it in hand, there's always a chance, I would say, which I think is what
We haven't
Sean's
received any
concern is.
word indicating that our application is in jeopardy. They haven't asked for any additional information. The federal government moves slow, the wheels turn slow.
So why couldn't this wait until April?
Because
If
it's
you
not
don't have-
pertinent, it's not pertinent to this article.
No, the article, we could wait on the
Sure.
article until April.
But we committed to
And,
doing it in October.
I understand,
rather than
but
waiting until-
my understanding was it was based upon FEMA reimbursement. And I do note that, if I read the turnback information correctly, the police had turned back in some $58,000 at the end of the last fiscal year. So once again, if they're turning back in $58,000, this is 40. I have every intent, if we receive the reimbursement from FEMA, to supplement their budget by $40,000. I don't see where, why would we not wait if we don't have it in hand? Why would we pull it from free cash? I'd want to squirrel more free cash away for our problems that are coming down the road in FY12. But
I don't
I'm just
disagree with
one.
your rationale. I'm just telling you my understanding of the commitment that this board made. And that was regardless of whether we get the money from FEMA, we were reimbursing them this money.
Well, I wasn't on board with that. I was on board based upon FEMA reimbursement. It was based upon FEMA reimbursement, not reimbursement regardless. It was all contingent on
Want to meet our
FEMA.
obligations, that's all.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I agree. I want to stick by the commitment. My understanding of the commitment was based upon FEMA reimbursement.
So perhaps Steve withdrawing his motion means that we can make a recommendation at town meeting if in fact Mike will withdraw his and we can move on. You know, we'll have more information by then.
Right, and hopefully, maybe we
Okay,
have it. Sure.
Everybody,
Absolutely, that's
would you
fine.
withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw
Second,
my-
rather?
yeah, I'll withdraw my second.
Yeah. Mr. O'Leary, okay with withdrawing it first? Recommendation to be made at town meeting. Prior year's bills, Mr. Belconis.
Several medical bills related to injured public safety employees. Nothing unusual, just a lag of the medical billing process. We'll pay for it out of free cash.
To the tune of about how much? Under $100?
No,
No.
$600.
Those are $600-$700.
$695, something like
$695.
that. Don't pin me down on the number.
All right, it's in that
Hold
range.
it to every
Okay,
dollar,
all right.
every penny, $6.95.
Okay, we've gone through the capital improvement.
cents.
So we're gonna move to recommend that, right?
Second, that's a motion I second.
we already
Motion
did
by
it.
Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr.
Thank you,
Delaney. All in favor to recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Capital approval, we're gonna recommendation
At
at
town
town meeting.
Fund services related to water and wastewater.
This is the study, fiscal impact study of expansion of water and sewer in the
And
community.
this is coming out of the,
Come out of free cash. No, sorry, out of the monies that were set aside from the Berry Center
right.
for wastewater.
Yep, move to recommend.
I second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Prisco, $50,000 coming out of the wastewater fund that came from the Berry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. On the deficit, 2010 water enterprise, that's $249,000?
Yes, it is.
And that's gonna come out of the
MTBE account.
MTB account. I'll say right now that in a review of the water rates, which will come up in December timeframe, and the process of analyzing how better to balance the issue of when you have a rainy summer and you don't use a lot of water, which is why we have the deficit, or one like we faced this year where we've turned the spigot off altogether. Should we restructure the water rates such that we do a better job of accounting for those situations? And what I'd like to see is that the $249,000 be replaced from the MTBE fund over a period of 3 years by adjusting the water rates accordingly. Of course, we'll discuss that in December, but that's what I think we ought to be doing. We had no intention of using that money for funding a deficit in the water department. We were gonna
We
use
just have
that
to find
for
if we
capital.
can- If we can reimburse that account, I don't know that we can once we.
Well, that's a good point. I don't know either, but we
I think
can,
when
we can put it
when we
somewhere
drew-
else.
Yeah, when we drew from the Stickney
Mhm.
fund, we weren't able to put it back into the
Mhm.
Stickney fund. We put it somewhere else, but
Anyway, that would be the intent. So for $249,000, we have a motion.
move to recommend.
I second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Prisco. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The truck exclusion, this was coming out of free cash,
It is $7,500.
$500.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Prisco. Discussion.
Does anyone have the answer as to why FinCom is,
They
Not recommended
they
this
didn't
article?
view it as a
No, they just
foreseen expense?
didn't like it.
Didn't like it at all.
Didn't like the idea.
Didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
They didn't approve it as a reserve fund transfer request. It was presented to them as a normal funding request.
Yeah, but they're not even in favor of,
No, they didn't like it.
They're not supporting it in either case.
they don't live in the street.
That just says not
They
recommended.
don't live in the street.
All, you done? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 8, appropriate rebates for future conservation projects.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Prisco. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Instruct Ipswich River Park Pavilion, accept grants and gifts. I'd like to hear more on this. I prefer recommendation to be made at town meeting. Mike, you're closer to it than any of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now, they have $60,000 that the Hillview has provided. The project's gonna be about 120. So they wanna try to get it done this fiscal year if they can, and they're out doing fundraising. There's actually a golf outing on October 3rd, which I hope everyone here is going to participate in. And they're doing things like that, and they're also applying for some additional grant money to get the additional money. So they need this gifts, this acceptance and gifts account available so they can continue to go forward.
If my memory's correct, it doesn't entail any other municipal funds.
Right, it's not coming out of any operating
Mhm.
money.
No, I understood that, I just didn't know. It seemed like the, I don't know, has the project grown in scope? Because originally, the 60 was supposed to
Yeah.
take care of it.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought.
it was just clearly underestimated when we went into it.
Yeah, I think he's correct in that. I've been with the LUC for some time now, they've discussed this, and there's really been no change, no special additions
Mhm.
to it, it's just the
Right.
same thing. The quote came in, somebody came in with a quote of about $60,000, I guess, and all of a sudden, they put it out again, and the quote came back.
No, we never really, actually, we got an estimate from someone,
Right,
right? That's how we built our budget, based on an estimate we
Based on an
received through
estimate.
research.
All right,
When the
so-
quotes came in, they were over $120,000.
I'm actually in favor of recommending this right now, because what this says is, no additional municipal appropriation
No.
can take place. We already have the 50% of the 120
Mhm.
available, so this is just authorizing them to go out and get the grants and use the 60,000 that's available from Hillview to.
Are you making the motion?
I move
recommend?
to recommend.
And I second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Prisco. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
We already did 10.
Article 10 as amended.
As
amended.
amended.
I move to recommend.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Prisco. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Unanimous.
No,
No.
we already did a vote on it.
We
Oh, we
voted
did
that.
that?
It was a 4-to-1.
Voted
It
4-1.
was 4-1 to cut it back.
Yeah, right. No,
This is now,
this is
this is now what's gonna be
recommended.
presented. Are you in
Recommended
favor of
being
the
presented.
change? That would be unanimous,
What is the
right?
vote?
say that again,
Unanimous.
It was
Unanimous, okay.
Yes, okay.
changed, I'm a little confused.
No, I didn't.
No,
No, I know what he
didn't
did.
change.
The original motion was to cut it back to what we're now recommending. That was 4-1. Now we're moving to recommend as amended unanimously.
Okay. Article 11, I think Steve voted to allow it to be on the warrant, but not necessarily recommending it, right?
I'm definitely not moving to recommend.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion from somebody.
I recommend Article 11.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, second by
I'd just
Mr.
like a little bit of
Delaney.
discussion before the board makes its final recommendation. I just think that this, as stated previously, this is not a petition that's going to go anywhere in the House of Representatives or the Senate.